everyone, welcome back to Amy's Bookshelf. Today we're going to talk about my reading halfway through the month of June. So when I did my last video, which was my end of May wrap up, I said there's not going to be many books to talk about because at that point I had finished 6 books and that I was filming on the 12th and now I'm filming on the 16th. And the numbers are radically different. So I'm going to go in how many I read and tell you kind of for my own sake, just because I want to, but also to kind of tell you why the numbers are so different, what I read and by what date. Make sense? I hope it does. So the first thing that I read this month, I finished was Haiku. I finished this on the 4th. This one is a book of poetry from Japan. This one is very short. It has, first of all, introduction to all of the authors we're talking about, particularly 4 authors and then more. Then it goes into the poems. There's one translation here. This is, I believe, a translation, and then the English translation. And of course, the author of each one is up top. I found it to be really enjoyable. I think I gave it a 4-star. I actually gave it a 5-star according to my Goodreads. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this. It was so fast and so engaging, and I really loved how at the beginning we got to have a description of each author, why they wrote the way they wrote, and what their inspiration was typically, and how their life inspired their poetry. I think that was very interesting, and I really enjoyed this collection and bind up, and I'm so glad that I had purchased it a while ago now, and I have it on my shelves to revisit because I probably will very soon. Very soon, meaning like in the next 5 years, perfectly honest. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I highly recommend this bind up of Haiku. This one is translated by Hart Larrabee. Let me see if I can put that up for you. So there you go. Definitely recommend this bind up. I think on the 6th, I finished The Case of the Peculiar Pink Fan. This one's the Enola Holmes book. I forgot to add to my Goodreads, and so it was kind of straggling around. Might have been the 8th, but it was somewhere around there. And this one is the most recent, I think it's book 4 in the Enola Holmes series, and I found this one to be very enjoyable. I gave it a 4-star. It was definitely a good mystery. We had the character Lady Cecilia, who we have met before, or Lady Cecile, or Cecily? Names, whatever. But anyways, we met her before in a previous book, and in this one, she has a peculiar pink fan, and Enola's trying to rescue her, and that's all we know. It was very fast-paced like always. It was very short like always, but the mystery was solid and punchy and in your face, and the pace was very good, and I really enjoyed the world building that continued and how we got to meet more of Enola as her personality started to show through. Well, not started, it has always been there, but her inner tickings and her inner fears were starting to show more so, and I really enjoyed how we got to see more of the brothers, as well as Sherlock and Mycroft are starting to come to difference of opinions when it comes to Enola, and I really enjoyed it. So definitely a 4-star. I can see these books getting better and better, and I'm predicting that these books will soon become 5 stars in my opinion. Next on the list was God of Freedom by Jen Wilkin. This one I gave 5 stars. I finished this one on the 7th, but I've been working on this one since April, so it doesn't really count for a June book, but I did finish it in the month of June, and this one I gave 5 stars. It was wonderful. I loved wrapping up the book of Exodus. Exodus is slow going towards the end, but it was very enriching and foundational, and I really loved this study, and I recommend this 2-part study to anyone who's wanting to have a really deep understanding and a foundational understanding for the rest of the Bible. Really recommend God of Deliverance and the God of Freedom in that order. After that, I watched The Bald Soprano. I found it on YouTube. I will try to link it below if I can remember. If not, just type in The Bald Soprano by Eugene. Oh goodness, I heard my cousin tell me the name, I can't remember now. Ian Socorro? No, that's not right. Anyways, I watched The Bald Soprano. This is a bizarre play, and I didn't think this is a genre for me, but I did think it was definitely of its type, and I give it a 3-star. It just wasn't my kind of style. However, knowing that it was bizarrist made me embrace it more than I probably would have walking in blind, and I think it's definitely something you have to know that going in. It's very interesting. It's about these 2 couples who are having dinner together, and their maid and a fireman comes in, and that's just them having really weird conversations. But yeah, it's really no plot. It's just them having strange conversations, and I mean, if that's something that sounds interesting to you, I would highly check him out. I'm not sure I'll keep this edition or these other plays by him because I have 3 more in this bind up, but I'm glad I tried him out. So that was all that I had read up until the 10th. And I was like, I am not reading anything. So on the 10th, I started driving down to see my cousin Megan, as she lives a good 3.5 hours away from me. And on that journey, I listened to Beowulf. Now this one, I was listened to for Ancients-a-thon, and I really enjoyed this one. I'm giving it a 4-star. I really liked the lyrical epic poem of Beowulf trying to beat these nemesis in his life, maybe these arch enemies, and it was very much a lyrical poem, and I'm really happy that I read it. It was very interesting, and yeah, it was just him being a hero, essentially. At least that's kind of what I got out of it. I would like to listen to it again in the future because, to be honest, the day I was listening to it, my head was not totally on the audiobook. So I would need to re-listen to it, but I'm glad I have that for future listening to. So I will be doing that in the future. I just really enjoyed the experience of what it was, and I gave it a 4-star for that. So then after that was finished on my drive, I put on the Book of the City of Ladies. Sorry. And that one is by Christine de Pizan. This one I finished on my drive back from my cousin Megan. So I listened to those 2 things, and that was it for up until the end of the 11th or end of the 12th. That was my only things read. And I thoroughly loved the Book of the City of Ladies. This one was just feminism at its core in the 1400s. And I loved how Christine was trying to say women are not bad. You got to pay attention to the good that women do and how they are equal to men in their consistency, in their talents, and their abilities. And I loved it. It was so wonderful. I did give it 4 stars, but at the same time, I might bump it up to a 5 because there was an author's note at the end of my audiobook, which really told why she used so many examples of that type. Because I was kind of like, oh my goodness, there's so many types of where the women were virgins, they never slept with a man, and I was kind of like over that. But then at the end it was like, well, this is what they would have valued, and she was trying to really get the men to agree with her because she couldn't fight against the system and make them agree with her. So the author's note was a lot more eloquent and a lot more detailed, and I really liked that. So I might give it a 5 as well because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would highly recommend if you have never, and also listening to it, it was really great. I really recommend the audiobook on Audible. So up to that point, I had listened to, now this is the end of the 11th, or end of the 12th, okay, Sunday. I had listened to or read a total of 880 pages, I think it was. I'll put a picture here of my calculator. I did a calculation, and that was it. That was all I had read. And a lot of it had been listened to, a lot of them are audiobooks, and I was just like, I am not doing any reading. And that's why I said in that video, not a lot of books. And then I started my vacation time, and things happened. So first of all, I tackled the 2 most difficult books of the month, which were these 2. So I tackled Lives of the Caesar by Suetonius. This one I gave 4 stars. I think it was really interesting, and I really enjoyed how it talked about the Caesars and how it handled things from Julius Caesar all the way to what was his name? I'd have to figure out. Domitian. It was really interesting, but it was very heavy, like heavy material to read, and I didn't have an audiobook, so I just physically read it, and I just was plowing through. But it was really interesting, and I have put this off for a very, very long time. So actually for the Golden Girls Readathon, this is officially my most intimidating book because of that. I do think this one is well worth the effort though, and I'm glad I have finally read it. I thought it was very interesting to have a historian from the day talk about the Caesars and how cruel they were and all those interesting things. And this is reaffirmed, as I have thought many times in the most recent 6 months as I've been learning about that era, but also in life, it would not be great to be a Roman. Never want to be a Roman, man or woman. Do not want to do that. So, especially of upper class. No, thank you. But yes, very good, 4 stars. And then I read The Lost World by Michael Crichton, and I gave this one 3 stars. I think what the problem was for me was that I was scared it would fail, and I knew people were like, this book is not worth it, and I agree in some extent. I feel like if this book had been before Jurassic Park, I would have given this one a higher rating, because this one is just so different in the pacing of it. Jurassic Park is definitely a thriller, and it was very action-packed. It was kind of like a horror movie where you know that someone's gonna die any second and you just don't know when and where. This one felt a lot more like a mystery detective book or a detective movie, where a suspense one where there's a serial killer going around, but you're getting a lot of the detective work going on. So I thought it was very slow compared to the other one, and I felt like if this book had been like the setup or this idea had happened before Jurassic Park, I would have rated this one higher. But because it came after, it's a 3 for me. I just I liked certain ideas and I liked how certain things were, but I just honestly felt like it was nothing compared to Jurassic Park, because this one follows a group of people who go to what's an island that is kind of where a bunch of dinosaurs are, or they think they are, and they are trying to figure out what happened. But at the same time, it's a lot more slow and a lot more research based and a lot less scary, I think, than the first book. So I finished the duology. I did it finally, but I am gonna say that this one, it's still not a bad read. It's just not as engaging as book 1. So there we go. So that was Monday. And now Tuesday, which was the 14th, yeah, 14th, I read The Duchess of Malfi by John Webster. I read my Shakespeare play, which was also for Ancients-a-thon, and not my Shakespeare play, but my Elizabethan play, and I'd give this play a 3 star. I thought it was good and interesting. I think I would need to do a summary read, but I honestly haven't found the time to do it. I mean, I've been off, but I've been also reading a lot more, as you'll see. But yeah, it was good. I just couldn't find a play to watch of it, and that's how I like to take in these plays. And so if I found a play to watch, I'm sure I would rate it higher. I did enjoy what was going on, and I think I understood most of it, not like the Christopher Marlowe play, which was very confusing. But this one I found to be understandable and enjoyable. It was just not as engaging because I wasn't watching it. So I would need to watch it, I think, for me to give it a higher rating at least. So yeah, 3 stars, but definitely potential for more if I were to watch it. I also read We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This one I loved as well. I gave it 5 stars. This book I started and I could not put it down. I loved Mary Catherine and Constance. I loved the story. I can't believe it was so short and just so engaging. Creepy, spooky Uncle Julian was interesting. The whole thing, their cousin Charles. Oh, so many good things. And I just loved this whole book. I'm so glad I didn't know anything going in. Not knowing really was interesting because I knew nothing, and knowing nothing was like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm here for it. I loved it. It was just so good, so spooky and so creepy, but at the same time, I was just like, it's all there. This is the perfect book, and I'm like, I like literary fiction. So this is not a shock to me that I like this, especially when it's cataloged as literary fiction. But yeah, and the ending, it was so good. I love it all. So 5 stars, definitely a keeper, and I'm excited to read more from Shirley Jackson in the future. I also read A Kiss Before Dying by Ira Levin. I actually read 2 books back to back by the same author, like month to month, and I was impressed with myself, to be honest. This was apparently his debut, and I am very impressed. I liked this one even more than The Boys from Brazil. This one got a 5 stars as well. This one, I really liked what the foreword said. This one, it was just so fun what he said. So, not he, but she, Chelsea Kane, said Levin's plots can be always boiled down to one irresistible pitch. Mengele plans Nazi world domination, and it's up to one Jew to stop him. So that's The Boys from Brazil. Woman gets impregnated by the devil, Rosemary's Baby, and I'm very intrigued now. You get the picture. A Kiss Before Dying has a very simple hook. Worst boyfriend ever. what can you say? That's it. It was just so good. And this one, it was just so interesting. So at the beginning, I can't go too much into it because as I was reading, it's like, you can't describe this book unless you want to spoil it. So this book follows a man. You're watching it first through this man's perspective, and you don't know his name, and he is dating someone named Dorothy who he gets pregnant. And if she were to get married before her husband's or her father's approval, she would lose all the money, and she's due to inherit a lot of money. So he does not want to get married to her because he wants the money. And you can see right away his very murderous intentions or very angry intentions. He has hate for her at the very beginning. It's right there in the beginning. And it's just so good. And he's trying to get rid of the baby and maybe her, according to the back. It was just brilliant. Ira Levin is maybe a new favorite author. Oh, so good. So good. I need to read Rosemary's Baby now and find more from Ira Levin. So I've read 2 other books, and those were books I read on the 15th. So I literally read 7 books in the space of 3 days and 6 books in the space of 12 days. And all of those books were tiny. Literally plays, literally audiobook, epic poems, or poetry. I read literally like nothing in the space of 12 days. And I thought this would be a really slow month. And apparently vacation fixed me. But I read The Murder of King Tut by James Patterson. So this is a nonfiction book about how King Tut would have been murdered. However, I will say that this is labeled a nonfiction, but there's definitely fictionalized accounts of historical events. I will say that. So this talks about many generations before King Tut and how they would have acted. It's written in very much like a conversational way, and obviously we don't have that information. But then it also goes over King Tut's immediate family and his marriage and the people around him and who like preceded him after the throne, or not preceded, succeeded him after the throne. And so it's very interesting how that all works. So I would say this is a nonfiction, but it kind of feels fictionalized in some areas. This also has another timeline. So we follow James Patterson as he is learning about ancient Egypt, and we also have King Tut's timeline. And then we also have Carter's timeline as he is investigating and he's trying to find the perfect tomb that has never been robbed. Very fascinating, thoroughly enjoyable. I'm giving this one a 4-star. I think it's I'm rating it a little high for what it actually is, but it was what I was in the mood for, what I needed, and it was like, I need nonfiction. I need something that's going to pick me up right now because I've been reading so many books and I just needed something different from what I had been reading before. So I needed a nonfiction, and this filled the bill for my TBR clue spot of a thriller, because it says a nonfiction thriller. I'm like, I'm taking that. And I am happy that I have been able to enjoy a really fast-paced nonfiction book and get back up to speed. The last one was for the Buzzwordathon because I am no longer reading All the Missing Girls. It's not working for me right now. So I picked up The Affair at the Victory Ball. So ball has the word all. It's the very first Hercule Poirot short story, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It's where these 6 people go to this victory ball, and at the ball, one of them dies, and one of them goes home and then overdoses. And like, is it actual suicide? Is it murder? Is it natural death, or is it just whatever? And then the murder at the event, like, how did that happen? And it's all because this group of 6, and Hercule Poirot solves it. It was very good, and I really enjoyed The Affair at the Victory Ball. So those were the 7 books I read in 6 days, or 2 days, and the 6 books I read in 12 days. No, however those numbers work. 12 days to take 6 books and 3 days to read 7. I'm not going to be on vacation, I should say, anymore. So it might slow down a bit, but I'm okay. I'm almost done my Count Monte Cristo reading as well. So that's good news. And I am pretty happy with that. And basically I treated this time like a giant book haul. So I'm going to have a book haul coming soon of all the books I have hauled in the first 6 months of the year. So that will be coming up very shortly. So please let me know down below what you've read in the month of June so far, and if you've enjoyed it or if it's been a bit of a downer, whatever it is, please let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.